that some attendees in here have gone through this with me. And so not that I don't want to be redundant here, but at the same time, some of these quotes and some of these slides, even myself, I look at them every single day and they hit me differently every single day. And they mean something different depending where you're at in your life. But, I 100% feel that the key to finance in this space is education. I think the reason why people don't move forward with funding, or they're scared to get a credit card, or they're scared to get a loan, is because they're scared of money. They're scared of debt because they don't understand money and they don't understand debt. And sadly, it's not something that they teach in high school. It's not something that they teach in college. Definitely not business credit, and very, very, very little with personal credit. So our whole approach being that I come from the sales background. I come from a coaching background. With that, the whole team that I recruited also comes from a coaching background. We take the approach of really, really doing what we can to educate the client and then helping them make an educated business decision, right? We want to build the foundation for the long-term health of their business, which means we need to teach them how the flow is going to work and what that's going to look like. So what I want to do today is first and foremost kind of take everyone through an educational piece that I would take your clients through, right? If you wanted to have a 30-minute bonus session on how to fund your business, the first few minutes here is going to be what that would look like. And then I want to show everyone kind of the partnership opportunity and how, because of our relationship with Gain the Edge, it's so simple and plug and play for you here. So starting out, I want everyone to read this quote that you see on your screen here. Money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant. And I will always, always, always start with this quote. I have this quote written down multiple places in my office because this quote is motivating to me. I will not clock in from 9 to 5 for every single dollar I earn for the rest of my life, because that's not the life I want for my family. That's not the life I want for my son. I don't want my son to think that to provide for his family, he has to clock in from 9 to 5. We are going to learn as entrepreneurs how to make our money work for us, because money is a terrible, terrible, terrible master, but an excellent servant. And that's why we're here. That's why we're entrepreneurs, because we understand that. However, that being said, that fear and that mindset of money, it has to be shifted. It's very, very hard to take the next step as an entrepreneur if we're scared of money. Money's a tool, and we're going to talk more about that. And before I get into this personal debt and business debt, many of you know, I've already told you this, I was raised by extremely, extremely conservative parents. My mom is a third grade school teacher, now principal of the school I went to. My father's a CPA of 40 whatever years. He's old now, he's retired, but they paid me a few dollars to listen to the Dave Ramsey CDs. I understand that model. I understand that method. And I think for a lot of people, it's very, very sound and it's very wise, especially if you can admit to yourself, I have a hard time being disciplined with credit. But it's very wise and it's very sound with personal debt, with personal credit. And there is a massive difference between your personal finances and your business finances. So to keep things really, really simple, the way I like to define personal debt, it's taking on debt with no expectation of a greater return, right? I go to Best Buy, I buy a new TV. If I've got the cash to do it, great, by all means. But if I have to put that on a credit card, that's a bad debt. That's not a debt I would ever recommend. Yeah, it's fun to watch the game, but I'm not selling tickets for people to come into my basement and watch the game with me. I'm not gaining anything from that TV. That's a bad debt. Now, business debt, on the other hand, it's all about the ROL. I don't say the ROI because it's debt now we're talking about. It's the return on the line or return on the loan. And business owners, maybe our only option, which I'm going to make sure we all get 0% interest funding, but even sometimes if our only option is 15% or 20% annually, but we can make 10% on that money every month, that's still 120% on the year, So what if it costs you 20%? You still made 100%. So it's understanding and determining what your ROL is. And that's definitely something we can really help you determine. But business debt, it's taking on debt with not just an expectation of a greater return. That's easy. That's easy. But the reason why you're working with the right teams and gaining access to the right softwares and having coaches is because we need to have educated expectations of greater returns. That's smart business debt right there. And some of you know this, some of you don't. Those two companies in the bottom right of my screen right now, or your screen right now, every single one of you has heard of Google. Every single one of you has heard of Under Armour. What a lot of people don't know is that neither of these companies, maybe they would have found a way. I don't want to say they wouldn't be here, but both of these companies were on the verge of going belly up. They were done. Literally, they couldn't even pay the rent that next month. And the owners and founders of both these organizations, kind of similar story, literally went out and got personal credit cards, not even business loans. They got personal credit cards, fairly high interest rates, but they had an educated expectation of a greater return. They had their why, they had their belief, so they were willing to do that. And I can't imagine life without, I mean, more so Google than Under Armour. I could probably imagine life without Under Armour, just wear Nike. But regardless, massive, massive, massive companies here that we probably see and or use every single day. So when we look at that, many of you have heard of OPM. If you haven't, that stands for other people's money. But when we think about this, how nice would it be for you and for your clients to be able to leverage other people's money, or to explain to your clients how they can use other people's money to be able to pay for things like marketing, for the right coaches and mentors, for the right softwares. Maybe they need to get project supplies, or for a lot of us, and I was sharing a story just a few weeks ago with Jay and Bonita, the whole team over there, about a life we changed simply because it wasn't that they needed all this money for their business, but they had some really hard medical events come up and had a lot of high interest credit card debt that we were able to restructure and move over to 0% interest. And this individual literally explained, I felt like I could finally, take a breath and actually get ahead on some debt. And that's not just this individual. That happens every single week in this business because of the creative financing model and knowing what funding is right for you. There's a big difference between working with a group like this and just going to Credit Karma and saying, well, Credit Karma recommended this as my best fit. Credit Karma is going to recommend whoever's going to pay them the biggest kickback. It's not your best fit. Okay. Now, to confidently talk about what funding is right for you, it really comes down to breaking down, simplifying, and understanding the financial capital ladder. And I'm going to review this capital ladder with everyone again here today. And keep in mind, this capital ladder is built around unsecured funding. Very different. Secured funding would be like you're getting a loan on a car. You can get a very, very low rate because if you don't pay your auto loan, guess what? They go take the car and they're safe. It's secure. Same thing with a home. A HELOC's kind of a hybrid, but these are unsecured. No collateral tied to these types of funds. So when we start at the very top of the capital ladder, almost every single business owner that calls in, Ty, right away, I need a business line of credit, need it tomorrow. Okay, great. Now is our opportunity to educate the client. Everybody wants a business line of credit. Not a lot of new businesses qualify for it because to truly get a business line of credit, not a credit card, you need to have at least a 700 personal credit score. Believe it or not, yes, your personal credit does still matter. It's not going to report personally. It won't show up on your personal credit, but a business lender wants to say, hey, is this someone that pays back their debts? So yes, we do need to take care of our personal credit. And if it's not where it's need to be, or not where it needs to be, you need to get on a call with me and we need to fix that. That's okay, it happens. Secondly, you need to have business. You need to have at least 2 years in business. Again, if you're going to loan someone $50,000, you probably want to see that they've been around a little while. You want to see that they've been able to make money. Same reason a 16-year-old's not going to go get an auto loan on a Porsche without a cosigner. It's not going to happen. You need to have about 35 grand in average monthly revenue. And they want to see that you have some business credit built. A Paydex score, an IntelliScore, a rating with Dun & Bradstreet. We can talk more about these things. But that right there, instead of me, a client calls in and says, Ty, I want a business line of credit, instead of me combating with them and saying, oh, no, sorry, you don't qualify for that. Let's take another approach and ask the client some questions. Right? Okay, great. Let's get you a business line of credit. Do you have a 700 personal credit score? Yes. How long have you been in business? 1 year? Oh, okay, shoot. Well, let's take a look at some other options, because with that, you have to have 2 years in business. So instead of just rejecting them, ask them the kind of questions to let them know why they don't qualify. And that's something that obviously we will do with you and with your clients, but at the same time, we want you to understand this capital ladder, at least the basics of it, so that if questions are being fired at you, we can answer confidently. Okay, business term loan, almost the exact same thing, but the difference is that's a loan. They're giving you 50 grand direct deposit into your account. You make the same payment every month for 2 years. When it's gone, it's gone. Versus revolving, just like the term revolving, when you pay it down, the funds become available again. Now, an SBA loan, and we're still constantly hoping that this starts to clear up and they get easier to attain, but they're still very, very, very bogged down with all the COVID relief, the EIDL, the PPP, all of these things. Even before COVID, only about 10% of applicants actually got an SBA loan, and the average time to fund was about 4 months. Now, my guess is probably about 2% of people that apply actually get a true SBA loan, and it's taken about 6 months to fund. So SBA loans, they're really not good viable options for most business owners. But if you happen to be in a unique industry, you're buying a franchise, we can talk about those. Occasionally we will push that, but I wouldn't plan on it. I wouldn't count on it. MCA, that stands for Merchant Cash Advance. If you've talked to lenders and they say, oh, it's a short-term business loan, don't be fooled. There's a big difference. And I don't want to say fooled, but understand what a merchant cash advance truly is and how expensive those can be. Now, there are times where if that's the only option and that's how you stay in business and the ROL still makes sense, by all means. We've helped people get MCAs in the past, but we're not going to push it. The way an MCA works is a lender is going to look at your average monthly revenue. They'll require you have at least about 15K over the last 3 to 6 months. You've been in business at least 6 months. And what they'll do is typically give you about 80% of whatever your average monthly revenue has been over 6 months. I'll give you about 80% of that and say you've got 90 days, you've got 120 days to pay us back. And they're going to draw from your bank account every single day until that's paid back. So they call it a factor rate, and it can get very, very expensive. In fact, you all are welcome, more than welcome. If you're ever being presented something like this, or you've gone out and found it on your own, call me, call our team. We'll at least educate you and explain that to you in a little bit more depth. MCAs, I've seen too many businesses literally not even be able to pay that back, and it gets very tricky and sad. Now we get into my bread and butter. These bottom 3 tiers, I absolutely love, because I love working with startups and new businesses and even pre-launch businesses. You can get a 0% interest business credit card simply by having your entity. If you have an LLC and you have an EIN, we can get you a business credit card. The difference between a business credit card and a personal credit card, they're all personally guaranteed. A business credit card is personally guaranteed, but they don't report your utilization to the personal credit bureaus. And that's a huge advantage, because 35% of your credit score is made up by your utilization, right? If I have to go buy a batch of leads and it's $10,000 and I can put that on a business card now that doesn't report to my personal credit, that's a huge advantage, because now my personal credit stays strong. Okay, so to get a business credit card, you need to have about a 680 personal score. We want to see your overall utilizations are low, hopefully below 40%, and then you need to have that EIN. Personal credit, 0% interest personal card for that matter. Same thing as the business card, you just don't have to have an EIN. You just have to have a social security number to get a 0% interest personal card. We are still constantly trying to find a way to serve our friends in Canada, but all of our lenders are still very picky about social security numbers and them being US citizens. So we're working on it, I promise you, but there's just not a lot of lending opportunities in Canada right now. And then the last tier here is a term loan. Term loans can be extremely advantageous if you need to have cash and you need to have cash quickly. Usually we can get you about a 5-year payback term, and there's no prepayment penalties with monthly payments. So you can really get very, very low payments. If things start to go well, you don't want the loan, pay it off. They're not going to penalize you. But because it's a loan and not a revolving line, there's no such thing as utilization with a loan. So we can help clients get a loan to pay off credit card debt, lower their utilization, and now go get more 0% interest credit. Very, very common approach. I would say about a third of our clients, we start with a loan and then we go to cards. The downside, it takes a little longer, but it's helping the client so much that it's building a lifelong client because of the savings and the trust it's building there. Okay, so the way this creative funding model works, if you look at that financial capital ladder, it can be daunting. In fact, I'm going to go back and fill these out again. I want everybody to screenshot this or take a picture of it, have that for your record, just so that, like I said, you can talk about these things. And if someone asks you a question, you've got a response. Okay, but when you look at this, knowing what you can qualify for and knowing where to qualify and what lenders to go to are two very, very different things. So you look at these different steps, understanding that with personal term loans, I have a database of 60 different lenders. There's probably 100 out there. Credit cards, we have about 100 in our database right now. MCAs, there's probably 500 different groups out there. SBA is just the SBA. Business term loans, over 100. Business lines of credit, over 100. And what happens if you say, oh, okay, well, based on this chart, I'm a perfect match for a 0% credit card, and you went out and applied for 100 credit cards? Your credit is going to absolutely tank. And even if you did get a few approvals, they're going to close all of them because they're going to wonder what on earth is going on. That doesn't work. That's not viable. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we're maximizing the funding we can get in one sitting. So with our creative funding model, having done this for many years now, literally viewed thousands and thousands of reports, we take our list of potential 100 lenders, depending on the step that we're working on, and we shrink that list down anywhere from 4 to 6 different lenders. And once we have those lenders picked out based on not just your score, literally where you live, how old you are, who you have accounts with, who you have inquiries with, a lot of little factors there. We then have a software that gives us the ability to submit those applications simultaneously. So all those lenders get that app at the exact same time, which gives them the ability to make an approval decision based on your actual credit worthiness, without being impacted on them seeing an inquiry and saying, oh, we're not going to lend this because you have an inquiry. That's silly. We need them to see how your credit actually looks right then and there. Okay. By doing this, we have proven we will get 60 to 80% more capital for you, which, if you understand your ROL, that is extremely significant. And not getting that extra 60 to 80% is extremely expensive. To give you an idea, we've got 2 scenarios here. Again, client A, $2,000. And I work with a lot of inventory-based businesses, so I like to use this model. They put $2,000 into inventory. And with their ROL, they were making 15% profit every single month. And so with this model right here, we're making it very simple. We're saying 15% profit, and we're just reinvesting that profit month after month. At the end of 1 year, that $2,000 is now worth $8,700. Okay, from a percentage standpoint, phenomenal return. However, we're here to build businesses. We're here to provide for families. We're here to provide for thousands of families of people that are going to go through training with us, right? $8,700 is maybe going to cover bills for a month or two. It's not, we're not building a business around that. However, client B goes out and gets funding. And we're not talking about anything crazy. We're not talking about $50,000 or $60,000. Client B went out and just got 15 grand. Exact same model here. 15% margins reinvested month after month. But because they started out and had that 15K, at the end of 1 year, we're rolling into year number 2 now with $65,254 to start with. It's a little bit more exciting than 8,700. Now, again, I hope none of us have a goal to go out and retire and call it quits because we made 65K in 1 year, but that's a much more exciting business, much more exciting model to see the power of what funding can do. So the next question, then we'll kind of get to the meat and potatoes here. Many clients always throw the questions at you. Well, what type of funding is right for me? 9 out of 10 times, I am always going to encourage revolving credit for these reasons right here. Number 1, we get credit-based approvals. For new businesses, if they're pre-launch, pre-revenue, you're an entrepreneur, you're self-employed, you're a 1099, you don't want to show your income. You don't want to show your tax returns because many times we get creative. We have tax write-offs. We have strategies that are totally legal and acceptable, but that means that it looks like we don't make as much money as we do. And we don't want you to be rejected for funding because of that. So with revolving credit, you get approved based off your credit worthiness. Number 2, this is huge for a new business. Massive for a new business because we don't want to be paying large amounts on funding that we're not using yet. So with revolving credit, you only have a payment based on what you actually spend. And with something like a 0% interest business or personal card, all you're required to pay is about 1 to 2% of your balance monthly. So when we're talking about, say you have a $10,000 program and a client can look at their ROL and say, well, I could pull $10,000 out in a loan and be having these crazy payments, or I can do $10,000 on a line of credit. Now, all I have to pay is 1 to 2% of that. So $100 to $200 a month. If we can't start to make more than $100 to $200 a month, then we shouldn't be in the business in the first place, right? That is very low payments and gives you the really nice abilities to go out and get a good, strong ROL there. So 1 to 2% of your balance is how credit card payments work. The third reason is they're open-ended, right? For me, I'm constantly paying for marketing, bringing in revenue, and now I want to go pay for more marketing, bring in more revenue, go pay for more marketing. A loan's going to expire. When that money's gone, it's gone. With revolving credit, you pay it back. Now you can spend on it again. The fourth reason here is revolving credit, such as a card, is the only place in my entire career I've ever been able to find 0% interest on unsecured funding. And it'll probably, I mean, I don't think we'll ever find any other form of unsecured funding with 0% interest. I think Ford Motor Credit's probably the only other place I've seen that, because again, they'll go take your truck if you don't pay it. But unsecured funding with 0% interest, what an advantage. And then the last thing here is cashback, bonuses, points. And believe it or not, I mean, not only is it 0%, but a lot of these lenders will actually pay you to use these funds. And it adds up. It adds up. And in past years, my partner's used all of our cash back. He's got 5 kids, paid for all of Christmas. This year, we actually hit a big goal. So we're taking our entire team to Cancun in March, and we're covering like $10,000 of the trip just because of cash back on spending, doing that strategically. So we'll work with you and teach you and help you understand how to maximize that cash back, but it's a big advantage for a new business. So again, for any of you that want to get qualified on your own, I suggest it. if nothing else, these things right here, number one, there's no hard credit pull. It's not going to impact your credit. It literally won't show up anywhere because of our relationship with Experian. We can do that soft check. Number two, I want you to see what you can receive. As a business owner, you don't have to take the money, right? Maybe you have no intentions of taking the money, but looking at that and saying, well, I qualify for $30,000. Maybe that's what changes that mindset and says, well, a $10,000 coaching program or a $5,000 lead launch or a $10,000 marketing program really doesn't seem so scary anymore. And it seems feasible because, it's not 10 grand out of my savings account. It's $100 to $200 a month, and I can afford that. And I know it's going to bring greater return than $100 to $200 a month. Smart business decision. Okay. A lot of us won't qualify, and that's okay. That is totally fine. What's not fine is not doing anything about it. We're past those days, right? There are way too many solutions out there for bad credit to sit here and tuck our tail between our legs and say, I got bad credit, I just can't use it. Bad credit's too expensive to not do anything about it. There's so many solutions. We'll help you with it. Whether it's a self-serve, do it yourself, here's how you do it, or you want us to do it for you. If you don't submit an application, we can't help you. Okay. And then the last thing, like I've talked about over and over, I want everyone to strategize with the team member here. Maybe it's talking about how to serve your clients. Maybe it's talking about potential funding opportunities for you or lead launches, what your ROL really looks like. We want to help you. We want to educate you. And our team is very, very, very good about helping you understand credit, both personal and business. So that being said, I'm going to pull up the application page on the next screen. The last thing, I just want to give you this quote here before we pull that up. We live in a world where money is a necessity. But when we learn to view money as a tool and not a necessity, our fears will be diminished. Okay. Eliminate your fears of money. It will handcuff you as a business owner. Money's not scary. Money's not a necessity. Money's a tool for a business. So anybody first and foremost that wants to take a look for themselves and see what you can qualify for as a business owner, you're going to go to www.sevenfigures.app/GTE. Maybe someone can throw that in the chat. It is important that you type the www. I'm still working on figuring out why it is that it has to be typed, but if you don't type the www, it's going to sit there and think forever. So if it's not loading up, www.sevenfigures.app/GTE. Okay, right there on the main page, there's a big blue button that says apply now. Go ahead and click on that. That's going to take you to the actual application page, which again, does not put an inquiry on your credit. It will not show up on your credit. We don't require your financials. We don't require your social security number. It is a very, very soft check. In fact, as you see right here, that's all we need. Your name, your email, your phone number, your address, your date of birth. That's it. Okay. Take 2 minutes, fill that form out. If that green button that says submit at the bottom isn't lighting up in green, it's because you formatted your date of birth incorrectly. Experian is so picky about the date of birth, which I have no idea why. It seems like some of these other things they should be pickier about, but date of birth is one that it has to be 2 numbers for the month, 2 numbers for the year, 2 numbers for the month, 2 numbers for the day, 4 numbers for the year with slashes in between, just like you see in that screenshot right there where it says follow this format. Okay. The questions about the business, it's totally optional. If you have one, fill it out because we're able to help you better and answer your questions better. If you don't have one, leave it blank. You don't have to have a business to work with us. Okay. And then once you hit submit, you'll just watch for a text message. You'll get a text and you'll get an email, whether you qualify or not, because we want to help you. If you qualify, you're speaking with a funding advisor. If you don't qualify, you're speaking with a credit specialist. Regardless, you'll get a link to schedule with our team so that we can help you and guide you. Now, for anybody that wants to get this done again, and in fact, I don't mind if you share this link with your family, with your friends, with your kids, with your sphere of influence. Share it with everyone. We want to educate everybody on credit because it's a huge problem in our world today, in our country today. Nobody knows how the credit scores actually work, the algorithms that create them, right? So sevenfigures.app/free credit. We've created a course called Credit College. Recently, we've changed a few things and we've decided we're giving it out for free. So anybody that wants to gain access to that, we also are unlocking a very, very brief kind of startup education on business credit, Dun & Bradstreet, Paydex scores. I do suggest you work with someone to go into a little bit more depth if you're really wanting to grow with the business credit, but at least this is enough to get you a good start. Okay, so before, I've got about 3 more slides and I'm gonna kind of shift into now how you can offer this to your clients. But regarding funding itself, funding for your business, you go to sevenfigures.app/GTE. That blue button beneath the apply now says 7 Figures Partner. You'll go ahead and click on that. And then that brings you to the enrollment form. It's very, very basic information. The one suggestion I do give you though is referral ID. Keep that short because that's what's going to come at the end of the URL. So like with our team here, it's just GTE as you saw. Keep that short, maybe an abbreviated version of your business name, whatever that is. And then as soon as you sign up, you complete this form, those 5 questions or whatever it is, it'll give you the ability to just log in. You now have a username and a password because you completed the form. You can go ahead and log in, and within 10 seconds, you could now be submitting a lead, an applicant if you really wanted. So once you log in, you're going to be in the partner portal. You can use that link right at the top. That's your unique link to have someone apply for funding. And then as you see right there on the left-hand side, there's client tracking. You can view the status of your applicants. You know exactly where everyone's at in the process. And then you'll be assigned a partner manager that can help really walk you through the back office and make sure you have total confidence going into your next, whether it's an event, a launch, you're doing a podcast, whatever you want to present this, we'll make sure you know how it works and you feel comfortable.